Today I'm going to be talking about the history of guacamole. Guacamole is made with avocados and they're good source of healthy nutrients and healthy fats. It provided a healthy choice for the Aztec culture, which the people that created guacamole. Initially, it was simply ground up, mashed up avocados, and it was eaten often. Because at the time in the area that Aztecs were, they didn't have any good sources of healthy fats, so their body didn't have enough a good enough source of healthy fats. So this meal provided that. A completely different reason for which Aztecs often ate avocados and guacamole is because of the fact that they believed that it was an aphrodisiac. So eating this was a good choice of an aphrodisiac for them. Because of this, when Europeans came to visit the Aztecs, they talked about how they believed it was an aphrodisiac. And the original word for guacamole, which was I think it was guacamole or avocado sauce, also means testicle, which is one of the reasons why Europeans really felt that this was a real aphrodisiac. So they also really enjoyed to eat it. Nowadays, it is enjoyed in sporting events. So around the 90s, the transition from sporting or watching sporting events was more about sports before, and now it is more about sharing time and having fun with your family and friends. So avocados and guacamole was a really big part in that transition, because now you can eat the snack with your friends and you can enjoy it with people while also watching a sport. Second of all, we're talking about technology-wise. The timeline is that the first technology used by the Aztecs is a mortar and pestle type thing called a molcajete. It is a mortar and pestle, but it is made out of stone, and it's much bigger and much heavier. So what you would do is you would take all of the ingredients that you could find in that area, which were onion, serranos, which are a chili pepper, the avocado, as well as tomatillos, which are a small green tomato. It's more bitter. They would take all of those and they would grind them up in the molcajete, and then they would serve it. Nowadays, guac is not homemade, is made by big machines, industrially made, designed to make huge quantities very efficiently. Culturally, guacamole began to change in the late 1400s when the Spanish often went to Mexico, which is where the Aztecs were, and they loved this guacamole. So they wanted to introduce it to Europe. And the introduction is also why we include lime, spices, and garlic, and which is the version that we have now, because the Spanish had also visited Persia, which is where they got these limes from, and India, which is where they get all these spices from, and they began to shift guacamole. Some of the scientific principles that were seen in the application of guacamole, to begin with, a scientific principle is a type of rule that needs to be continuously applied when you're creating guacamole. So I would say that one of those principles back when it was first made was that you had to make it with a molcajete, which is a mortar and pestle, because that was how you truly made it. It gave it some sort of flavor. So a molcajete is also kind of like a cast iron skillet, where you flavor it, you season it, and you don't completely wash it. So that was one of those things that you needed to do for it to be authentic. Nowadays, I would say that it is more the addition of lime, because it adds that new acidity to the molcajete, and it's a certain, and it is more than it is the certain tool that you use to make the molcajete. So 4, the popularity of guacamole in Western culture has created many different technologies and foods, one of which is the creation of chips, more importantly, corn chips. These chips were created to try and minimize waste. They were initially just because they were making tortillas and you had extra little triangle sized pieces that were like left over. So somebody would like fried them, put them in a bag, sold them for 80 cents. But more importantly, they were using them for dips like salsa and guacamole, but guacamole was one of the most popular choices. A new fast food culture emerged with popularity of guacamole. This was brought by restaurants like Chipotle and Qdoba. Menu items like burritos and tacos have been further improved through this flavorful dip. 5, the way that we live nowadays has been changed through these new technologies and the new foods that have been created and developed through the addition of guacamole in our diets. Guacamole has been made much more common and acceptable to eat avocados with our meals. It is very uncommon to have seen a guacamole or avocados to be enjoyed with a meal such as like meatloaf or any like classic American meal. Guacamole has made the development of guac or avocado toast much more common. This is due to the healthy benefits and its versatile fruit and the versatility that this fruit provides. It's an easy to make meal and very enjoyable, and it is now very Instagrammable, which means that it's very popular and like it looks very neat, and it looks like, wow, this person is really eating healthily. Therefore, one can say that guacamole has inadvertently helped people be more healthy. It's also created another vegan breakfast option. More and more people are becoming vegan, and having a good, cheap, and accessible option is good to have in restaurants or just at home. Socially, we have begun to eat chips and dip at many more functions that do not include a Mexican restaurant, which is where you would normally see this appetizer. Chips and guac is a good sharing food to enjoy with friends and family, and it makes a good food to eat while still being able to hold a conversation. I believe that further developments and improvements can be seen and anticipated for guacamole, some of which would probably be having a product that prevents or slows down the browning of guacamole. So having like some sort of powder or liquid that the chef or the at-home cook would add to their recipe to keep it from browning. Now, right now, people are simply using lime juice, which is very effective, but it's not as effective as it could be. I would also think that a different future improvement would be that guacamole would be made, since it is already made in a factory, they could easily just make it into a condiment bottle. So at Costco, you can buy mustard relish and ketchup in a 3-pack. It's condiment bottles that you can easily squirt out and put on your food, or like jelly that they now sell it as well with a squeeze bottle, or mayo and all these other things. So I think that guacamole is one of those type of condiments, type of sauces that could be added, and you could easily add it to a burger or a hot dog, or you could easily add it to just like on the side of your food, or instead of having to constantly make your own, you could just squirt it into a little bowl and have some chips with it. 7. How might our daily lives be affected with the changes anticipated in all of those like condiment bottles and new additives? I would say that our lives could be changed by eating more guacamole, more meals involving this dip, and more meals would probably be created. Right nowadays, they have already just begun to make added to foods that you wouldn't expect it. I can totally see since people are adding their guacamole to a burger, I could see it being added to a like a vegetable patty, and it's already in the meal. If the guacamole did become a condiment that could be easily bought, it would be added to your grocery list constantly, especially in the summer when it's very easy to obtain avocados, and it's much more of a fresh food. This, of course, also means that more people would consume it and know how to make guacamole.